So, shall we start? Good afternoon. So, we have discussed last week. We have completed our discussion regarding that accessible income from business, right? Business income. So, accessible income from business. Business. So you know that we discussed the things that need to be included when we attain the accessible income from business and treatment of expenditure. Section 10, 11, 12 to 19 we have discussed, right? So this is about the how the tax treatment that need to be done in connection with the exchange gain or loss. Right? It is the tax the Commissioner General of Inland has issued ruling. So there are basically two types of ruling: private ruling and public ruling. This goes as public ruling. This is applicable to all taxpayers, right? So as per the ruling, it says, I mean, they have given definition for what is this financial instrument and adjustment that need to be done. So you can read this thing. So objective of this public ruling is to explain the tax treatment in respect of foreign exchange gain and loss, right? Which arise from domestic transaction and on cross-border transaction denominated in foreign currency. So in the case of the foreign currency, how the tax impact need to be made, right? So in that context, they have given the interpretation of what is financial instrument, they claim that type of thing as per the tax law, and thereafter they are giving us some sort of explanation regarding the adjustment in the inaccuracy of the extent what they giving account, right? That has been explained. The important point here, what I want to discuss is this area. So as per the 11 Act, financial statement prepared as per general accepted accounting principle is accepting for tax purpose asset. So therefore, the whatever transaction which is recorded under LKR, so when they are converting, so that accounting treatment we can follow. However, as per the 11 law, it says what the exchange rate that need to be applied. Section 26, subsection 2 says an amount taken into account under the IRA shall be expressed in LKR, Sri Lankan rupees. So it says financial statement should be prepared, or the transaction should be prepared in LKR for tax purpose. So you know that in Sri Lanka, even we can keep financial statement other than LKR. There is no mandatory keeping account in LKR. So recording currency and transaction currency could be different. So they say, however, from tax cost perspective, financial or the tax needs to work out in LKR, whatever that in Sri Lanka. So in that context, it says, so how it should be translated to LKR as the central bank of Sri Lanka exchange rate applied between the foreign currency and Sri Lanka rupees on the date the amount is taken into account for the purpose of IR Act. It says, for the purpose of tax computation, the exchange rate on the date where the transaction is recorded should be considered. In the relief, it says spot rate need to be applied, and financial statement or the transaction should be converted to LKR. And thereafter, tax need to be worked out, right? Having said that, it says if there is any difficulty on keeping the work out the financial statement or tax rate on a spot rate, it says how it should be done. It says there are two types of, the two categories they are recognizing. And it says However, exchange gain or loss in relation to any account payable which is considered as expense for income tax purpose as classified under section 52 and are not required to consider financial assets for this purpose. The income tax treatment of foreign exchange gain or loss interpreted as above for person other than financial institution are summarized in the bill. So it says loss on trade payable where such loss connected to the tax deductible expenditure or purchase of trading stock. Trade payables. Trade payable could be on purchase or the expenditure. It says it is connected to the taxable activity or the tax liable activity. Unrealized gain or the loss, that is loss. Unrealized loss we are not considering. We can remove. Realized loss, it is considered as an expenditure. Right? Say we are paying salaries and we record financial statements of university. So in such case, we can use that around the exchange gain or the loss. It shall be considered as if it is a realized. Realized means just not a transaction happened and payment has already been done. That means realized. The unrealized means transaction recorded for the purpose of converting financial statement. We translate the financial statement to what is called this. The transaction goes to tax purpose. Right? So it's indirectly said translation loss. Right? We are not considering, but realized one. That means transaction happened, settlement has been done. Then there should be realized. Say we import some item, right? Item. We recognize purchaser and there should be debtors. Right? If we are keeping we record that transaction in the month of March, but the settlement happened in say April. The next year of assessment it goes. For the concerned year of assessment, it is not yet realized. If there is loss or the gain, we are not considering. Right? But if it is a realized one, we are considering part of transaction. Income, trade receivable, income and the receipt, that is also the same. Unrealized, we are not considering. Realized, we are considering. Right? And loss on tax deducted benign expenditure, that means disallowable expenditure. Realized or unrealized, we are not considering. Because that entire amount is ignored. So gain on accepted item, realized or unrealized, that is also not taxable. Loss on current assets, including foreign currency, bank or cash in hand, balance. Unrealized, not allowed as a deduction. Realized, allowed as a deduction. Gain on the current asset, including foreign currency, bank or cash in hand, balance of business. Unrealized, not taxable. Realized, taxable. Right? Likewise, it says in case of the capital assets, unrealized, realized, unrealized, realized, recognize. Right? So this is financial statement prepared in LKR, but there are some transactions which is happening other than LKR. Therefore, we need to translate. And the translation, in the translation, if there is the unrealized gain or the loss, we are not considering, but realized gain or loss, we are considering. That's the limit. That's the ruling, right? Thereafter it says, if the financial statement prepared other than LKR, financial statement completely prepared other than LKR, that means reporting currency is not LKR. So in that context, it says, we should use the spot trade to convert the financial statement. But you know that in somebody is preparing financial statement other than LKR, they are not keeping accounts or based on the spot rate. So thereafter it says you can use however the difficulty of spot rate of the each transaction in transit the financial preparing foreign currency to Sri Lanka, it is recommended to apply average exchange rate declared by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. Average exchange rate we can use and we can convert. In case of the transaction only, but financial statement are prepared in LKR, then we need to use spot rate. Right? If the financial statement prepared in other than LKR and only conversion is done, then it's recommended method is to convert it using this portrait. If you are not in a position to practically we cannot do, we can use the average exchange rate. Right? Average exchange rate. Having said that, it says, however, it is difficult to trace that average exchange rate. If there is any foreign currency conversion gain or loss, translation gain or loss should be considered as part of the transaction. Right? Transaction gain or loss should be considered as a part of the transaction. Right? So, however, if it is connected to the assets and liabilities, so then at the realization we are considering. That means in case of the conversion, income and expenditure conversion, we are considering as part of the transaction, any gain or loss. But in case of the asset, fixed assets and liabilities, we are considering at the time of realization that gain or loss. We can go on that way. That is the public ruling given. Right? This is applicable especially for even entity which is having either the transaction in foreign currency or they are reporting currency other than LPR. In that context, we can use this public rule. Right? That is especially applicable. You know that in business. So there should be some transaction which is happening out. I mean, say international context. If transaction happening with other country, there would be that what is this exchange gain or loss impact. But it says how to treat. Right? It could be entire financial statement prepared in other than India. In that context, it is translation. So translation, the conversion gain or loss, we should consider that as part of transaction, but which is connected to the income statement, we have considering as a part of transaction, but in case of the assets and liabilities, we are considering only upon the realization. Right? That is the ruling here. So I have uploaded this one as PDF material 1 to the portal. You can read. This is the public ruling issued by the Commissioner General of India. Right? You know that part of law should be part of law because you know that circular ruling we discussed, right? Gazette Notification Act and case laws, that type of thing. So this is coming as a public ruling because as per the Indian law, Commissioner General can issue ruling. There are two types of ruling: private ruling applicable only particular taxpayer; public ruling that is applicable to all taxpayers. Publicly available, right? Private rulings are not available. We need to record because it is issued to relevant taxpayer only. Right. So in that ruling, these last 2 pages are important. Other than other things are interpretation of the tax law and relevant interpretation of how the extract of relevant section, how it should be applied. Yeah, today onwards we are discussing acceptable income from investment. This is the second, third income source. First income source is acceptable income from employment. Second one is acceptable income from business, which we have discussed. Third one is acceptable income from investment. Before that thing, I have summarized tax exempted business income. That this income is tax exempted. First thing is any services rendered in or outside Sri Lanka to any person to be utilized outside Sri Lanka, where the payment for such service is received in foreign currency and tendered through a bank in Sri Lanka. So that is applicable in case of the service provided by a person in Sri Lanka to person outside Sri Lanka. It says services rendered in or outside Sri Lanka. Services rendered in or outside Sri Lanka. It could be in Sri Lanka services rendered, that person is rendering services in Sri Lanka, or services rendered outside Sri Lanka by that person. Go outside Sri Lanka and rendered outside Sri Lanka. To party outside Sri Lanka, that services should be rendered to a party which is outside Sri Lanka. Right? Sri Lanka, where the payment for such service is received in foreign currency. Payment is coming to Sri Lanka through foreign currency. Foreign currency. If it is the case, that particular income is tax exempt. That is for the year of number 24-25, it is tax exempt. Right? Any foreign source. Any foreign source. Foreign source means income is entirely generating outside Sri Lanka. Right? Foreign source. That is also tax exempt. So just like say we have a branch of it outside Sri Lanka, so that entire activities are happening outside Sri Lanka, it shall be considered as foreign source. That means income is generating outside Sri Lanka. For the year 24-25, that is exempt. Right? Thereafter it is like gain and profit received on derived by authorized person carrying on the business of strategic importance as approved under the provision of Colombo Port City Commission Act and the employment income of an employee. That is activities in Colombo Port City. Any person who is invested in Colombo Port City for some activity, from there if somebody is getting income, that is also taxation. Right? Currently, that exemption is still there. Currently, any person who is doing business in Colombo Port City, that entire business income and employment income is tax exempt. So how is happening? They are getting how many years that exemption is available. Actually, there are two types of categories of business they are recognizing: strategic importance, primary and secondary. Right? Primary means developing infrastructure there in the port city. Secondary means person who is doing business, permitted business doing in that particular area. So they have to obtain a license, just like for a period what they should do, and it should be recognized by the parliamentary gazette, and the gazette is specify how many years they are entitled for tax exemption. Right? So currently this is there in 24-25. Thereafter also it is there. But these two exemptions are only up to 24-25. Thereafter, now that exemption is available. Right. So that is taxation income. Right. Two income we recognize basically foreign source and services rendered outside Sri Lanka, earning in foreign currency rendered through bank. That particular services should be utilized by a person outside Sri Lanka. Any question? The business income or investment income, another question. Once we discuss the business income, we'll work out on one or two questions, right? Basically, business income and with that investment income. Because if I am analyzing the financial statement, some income coming under the business income, some are coming under the investment income. Therefore, I need to discuss that question, entire question. Next day, we will work out question, right? Two questions. I have already uploaded that one, that question under the question bank. Right, in the element, there are basically 2 or 4 items like that. First thing is due time uploading, tutorial, and reading material, both as RN, and question bank. And model. Question bank is that just like example on the theoretical area what we are completing. Okay. Right. So we'll see what is investment. They are giving that definition, that is section 195. Section 195 of the environment do the definition. It says the owning of one or more assets, including one or more assets of a similar nature, or that are used in an integrated fashion and include a past, present, or prospective investment, but exclude a business or investment. Let's say investment means owning of one or more assets. Could be one asset or more assets. And the asset is a integrated fashion. That is as a habitually is doing. Right? So that is treated as investment. Means just like say if I am having excess money, I am putting in bank account. Bank. Right? If I am having excess money, I am purchasing land or the building. You can see some person how they are maintaining that portfolio. That is integrated fashion. Somebody is not entirely depend on one particular asset. Right? To minimize risk, he is maintaining a portfolio. Right? So just like this is an integrated fashion. So but past it's include past, present, or prospective investment, but exclude a business or employment. Business or employment is not part of investment asset. Why? If it's that income is there, we need to work out under that particular income. Right? Business and employment is employment, business, investment. That's why dominant factor is still there. It says business. I mean, I could say in a layman language, what you are telling is, I am investing in a business. Right? Investing. So if I am the shareholder, I can purchase that share. Get the proprietorship, I am investing in my business. But it says if it is coming under the business income, it is not coming under here. If it is coming under the employment income, it is also not coming under the employment income and business income. We need to separate the income. And also it says a game of chance including lottery, betting or gambling. That is also part of investment. As per the 11th law says, game of chance including lottery, betting or gambling. That is also coming under the investment income. Right? It is also coming under the investment income. Game of chance means say we have made a bet. So on that we want game of chance. Including lottery, just like say lottery, betting and gambling. That are thing. It is coming under the investment income. Person income from an investment for the year of shall be the person's gains and profit from the investment for the year. In calculating a person's gains and profit from an investment, derived or received during the year of investment, the following amount received or derived by the person during the year of investment from the investment shall be included. These things shall be included. What are the things? Dividend, interest, discount, charges, annuities, natural resource payment, rent, premium or royalty. Say these type of things need to be included. Mandatory. What is dividend, interest, discount, charges, annuities, natural resource payment, rents, premium and royalty. Thereafter says gain from the realization of investment assets. Gain from the realization of investment assets is also part of investment income. Amount divided or considered as accepting or restriction of investment. Right? That is also part of that investment. You can see, compared to the employment income, compared to business, investment income, we are telling, in case of the taxation, we are telling these income are more passive income. Passive income means the person who receives that income, has no more, the much contribution to do the effort to generate that income. Just like say, if I am investing in bank deposit, I need to worry about day by day how much I am getting. If I have an agreement with the bank, okay, you are paying me 7.5% per annum. So they are paying interest. So thereafter we can arrange that it is a monthly or the quarterly or the at the maturity. But in case of the business, so we have to put much effort to generate that income. The income owner's contribution is higher in case of the business compared to the investment. That's the investment. You can say that dividend, interest, discount, annuities, natural resource payment, rent. Right? Those type of values, we are called they are towards passive income. That means income receiver, owner of income, his contribution is compared to the business and employment very less. Right? Say we put up a building, we are renting out. Not like just like you know that say manufacturing asset. Every day we have to be involved with that activity. But in case of the investment income, so just like say, right? So our effort is, so the active participation is very low. So that is the nature of the investment income. Right? So gift received by the person in respect of investment. Any gift received in respect of investment, that is also part and parcel of investment income. Just like say, if you are making an investment in bank account, so they are giving us some sort of gift. This connection is connected to the particular investment. That's what's mentioned if received by the person in respect of investment. Winning from lottery is betting or gambling. That also need to be included. That is also part of investment income. Other amount that required. So, however, in calculating person gain and profit income, these things should be excluded. It says XM amount and final withholding amount. So we are removing XM amount and final withholding amount. So XM amount being anyway it is not subject to tax. Right? That's why we are removing final withholding. Why we are removing here? The whole intention here is to work out the taxable income. That's why we are work out the taxable income. Therefore, final withholding amount we are removing here. The final withholding amount we need to work out separately. Amount that are included under the employment and business. That is also not part of investment income. Thereafter, they are giving definition for the element of that part of investment income. Right? It says dividend. What is mean by dividend? As per the tax law, it says a payment derived by a member. Payment derived by a member from a company. Member of a company means with a shareholder. Right? Shareholder. A payment derived by a member from a company, whether received as a division of profit. It says division of profit. It is dividend. Right? Division of profit. In the course of a or whether received as a division of profit, in the course of a liquidation or reconstruction. And the liquidation or the reconstruction, if it is a division of profit, that is also treated as dividend. In a realization of capital or share buyback or otherwise. In a reduction of in the reduction of capital or share buyback. In that context also, if there is a division of profit, that is also treated as dividend for tax. Right? You know that in the shareholder they are entitled for the part of profit. Right? They are the person who is owning that profit. Right? If it is division of profit, it shall be treated as dividend for tax purpose. Thereafter it says includes the capitalization of profit, whether by way of bonus share issues, increase in the amount paid up or shares or otherwise. Say bonus share, that is also treated as dividend. Because it is mode of distribution of or the division of profit. Right? So in that context, it is said bonus share issue is also treated as dividend. Whether an amount is distributed or not. Really is distributed or not. If it is capitalization of reserve, it is also part of dividend. Right? But we exclude these things. It is not part of dividend. It says matched by the payment made by the member to the company. If you are making any payment to match to the for the repayment of the capital to member, it shall not be treated as dividend. Debited to a capital with or capital share premium or similar account. That is not considered as dividend. Otherwise, considered as a final payment or is included in the calculated income of the member. So that is dividend. So in that context, dividend means the company divide division of profit, including capitalization of resource without whether it is distributed or not. That shall be considered as dividend, right? So important point here is in case of the bonus share, you know that bonus shares, when a company issuing bonus share, they are not collecting money from the shareholder. They are in the right issue or the public issue, they are collecting money. Bonus shares, share capital is going up, right? Share capital is going up, but no cash flow to the organization. So how they are capitalizing that money using the retained earning. Dividend is distributing basically retained earning, right? Or the reserves, what they have. So it shall be considered as dividend. What is meant by rent? A payment including a payment of a premium or likely amount for the use of or right to use property. Whatever amount payment which is connection to the use of a property or right to use of a property shall be considered as rent. Right? Say we are going at the building. So we are occupying building. So we have only right to use. We don't have the ownership, but we have the right to use of the property. For that purpose, if we are making a payment, it is goes as rent. Right? So then any payment which is connected to the ROU asset. So indirectly it says what is operating lease. ROU asset coming under the rent. Here it says right to use asset. We have or not, we don't have the ownership, but this right to use. Or payment for the rendering or the undertaking to render assistance ancillary to the use of the right, but exclude the natural resource payment or royalty. Natural resource payment, royalty or interest is not coming under the rent. Definition of the rent, right? So what is royalty? Royalty means, it says royalty means a payment including a payment of a premium or likely amount derived as consideration for the use of or right to use of copyright of literature, artistic or scientific work, including cinematographic films, software or video, audio recording, whether the work is in electronic format or otherwise. So that is goes as royalty. The meaning is royalty is if any payment made for the right to use of intellectual property. Intellectual property, just like say patent, copyright, you can see in the down there. The use of or right to use a patent, trademark, design or model, plan or secret formula or process. That type of things coming under the royalty. The use of right to use of industrial, commercial or scientific experience or equipment. The rendering of the undertaking to render assistance ancillary to the matter referred to. So it's any ancillary to the connected thing to the above item. Then payment goes, that goes as royalty. Right? You can see. So if somebody is making a payment as patent right. Right? Say software license. So we have right to use of and intellectual property. So it goes as royalty for tax purpose. So annuity, a fixed sum of money paid to someone each year. So natural resource payment means a payment including a premium or likely amount for the right to use, right to take natural resource from the land or sea, or calculated in whole or part of the reproducible quantity or value of natural resource taken from land or sea. So any payment which is connected to the usage of the property, which is or the resource which is connected to the land or sea, it shall be considered as natural resource. Payment for natural resource. Right? Say just like say if you are mining sand from one person's land, we are telling okay, we are paying so much for a metric tons. That goes as payment for natural resource. Right? Say water, just like mineral water and all those things. Somebody is using land and getting that mineral water, they are paying for that part. So you getting that the resource from the land or the sea, it is goes as payment for natural resource. Right? So what is mean by natural resource? Mineral, petroleum, water, or any other non-living or living resource that may be taken from land or sea. Interest. What is mean by interest? Interest says, it says a payment including the discount or premium made under the debt obligation. So discount or premium made under the debt obligation, that is not part of the repayment of the capital. That repayment of capital, if there is anything for debt obligation received, goes as interest. Right? Say, if you are putting money in the bank, means bank side it is obligation to pay back us. Other than repayment of capital, if they are making any payment, that goes as for that particular investment, it goes as interest. That's the meaning. Because some are using different words. Say discount or whatever. But what is you know that in case of the treasury bill and bond, they are using a discounted price. So they have the face value and investment value. So face value is higher than the investment value. So at the realization, they can get the face value. Difference shall be considered as interest. Or other payment functionally equal to the interest. So arrangement, either fees, features, so options, that type of thing. Say forward arrangement. If somebody is getting an amount, fee payment, that is also coming under the interest. Commitment, guarantee, or service fee paid in respect of a debt obligation or agreement. Guarantee or service fee, that is also coming under the definition of for tax purpose as interest. A distribution by a building society. In case of the building society, if they are distributing anything, that is also goes as interest. You know that the condominium apartment and property, they have building society, right? So they are collecting amount and they are keeping in the society. If they are distributing anything to the owner of the society or the members of the society, it goes as for the tax purpose, it goes as interest. Discount charges, premium, that type of things also coming under the assessable income from investment. Gain from the realization of investment. So it says gain from the realization of investment. Any gain which is from the realization of investment, that is also part of investment income. Right? So an amount derived as calculation or accepting or restriction of the capacity of conducting investment, that is also part of investment income. So we will move that gain from the realization of investment. Right? We call this is capital gain. Capital gain. Capital gain. In 2018 onward, first April 2018 onward, capital gain was reintroduced to Sri Lanka. Right? So that's called realization of gain from the realization of investment asset. So it says, so what is mean by investment asset? It says investment asset means a capital asset. Investment asset means a capital asset. Yeah, investment asset capital asset. Investment asset means capital asset. Held as part of an investment. Capital asset held as part of an investment. Right? Capital asset has held as part of investment asset. Capital asset held as part of business is, and that is coming under business. It says capital asset keep as part of investment asset. That is investment asset. But Investment asset. But exclude the principal place of residence. Principal place of residence is not coming under the capital asset. Right? Therefore, it is not coming under the investment asset. Right? It says the principal place of residence of an individual, provided it has been owned by the individual continuously for a period of 3 years. Right? Principal place, excluding the principal place of residence, how it should be excluded? If that ownership should be with that particular person, ownership should be with that particular person for a period of 3 years before the realization. And at least 2 of these 3 years should be lived in. Other than that asset also figured as investment asset. That is the meaning. Right? So it says realization of investment asset is part of which investment income. So then having said that, it says what is investment asset? It says investment asset means capital asset. Capital asset keeping or maintaining as part of investment. Right? But it says principal place of residence is not coming under the investment asset, provided that that particular person or individual should have the ownership for a period of 3 years. Out of that 3 years, at least 2 years should be lived there. He has to live there. In that context, it is not part of investment asset. Otherwise, it is part of investment asset. Right? So, what is meant by capital asset? Capital asset means land or building. So that's why that principal place of residence is excluding. Residence means building, right? So land or building. Membership interest in a company, partnership or trust. That is also capital asset. Security or other financial assets. Security or financial assets. Option, right to other interest in an asset referred to in the above chapter. That says these are coming under the capital asset. What is land or building? Land or building. A membership interest in a company or company partnership or trust. Membership interest of a company means what is? Membership interest of a company means what it means. Membership interest of a company means what is the meaning? What's it? Membership interest of a company. What is the meaning of membership interest of a company? What is it? What does it mean? Membership interest of a company. Interest of the company. What do you mean by membership interest of a company? What is it? The company. What is that? Money. What is that? Okay, what is it? Yeah. What? Event. Membership interest of a company means shareholder. Shareholder. That's it. Membership of a company, interest of a company. That means members ownership. Members can shareholder. So share is share of a company, ownership of a partnership, or ownership of a trust. That is treated as capital asset. So land or building, right? Land or building. Definition is land or building. Land or building. So membership interest of in a company, partnership, or trust. That is also capital asset. Security or other financial asset. Security, just like the what is treasury bill, treasury bond, that type of thing. So financial asset, that is also considered as capital asset. And option right to other interest. Any option, right, or other interest in connection with these type of three assets, that is coming under the capital asset. But exclude trading stock or depreciable asset. Depreciable assets and trading stocks are not coming under the capital asset. Right? Again, from the so what is meant by depreciable assets means an asset to the extent to which it is employed in the production of income. An asset to the extent to which it is employed in the production of income from a business and it is likely to lose value because of the wear and tear, obsolescence, or the passing of time. But exclude goodwill or interest in a land or membership interest of an entity and trading. Right? Depreciable asset, they are telling that, okay, asset which is employed in the business, used in the business, but value should be goes down because of the wear and tear and obsolescence or passing of time. Right? In that context, it is treated as depreciable asset. So, but in goodwill, interest of a land, that means land ownership, and membership interest in an entity. And trading stock is not part of what is depreciable asset. Right? So what is mean by land or building? It says land or building include a structural improvement to the land or building. An interest in a land or building or an interest of a structural improvement to the land or building and include the following: a lease of a land or building, a lease of a structural improvement to the land or building, Right. So this type of thing coming under the land or building as per the tax law. It says the include the structural improvement of the land or building. Right? Structural improvement of the land or building means just like say if you are putting say we have a bare land we set up as a but the vehicle rent yard. Therefore, we need to put some sort of structural change to the land. That is also coming under the land or building. Right? We are setting up some sort of say security fence or the wall. So that is also coming under the land or building. Right? And interest in a land or building or interest in a structural improvement to land or building and include the following: a lease or land or building, a lease of a structural improvement to the land or building, and exploration, prospecting, development, or similar right related to the land or building, and information related to the right before doing the batch. Right? Any lease ownership or the right to the land or building, that is also coming under the land or building. Structural improvement, exploration, prospecting, or development to the similar right. And information also connected to the land or building, that is also part of considered as land or building. So how to work out the gains from the realization of investment asset? Let's say consideration received minus cost. So then the gain or loss. So that's how we have worked out the profit or loss from the disposal of assets. Consideration received over the disposal profit minus cost. Right? So therefore the cost is important. So it says consideration received and amount received or received by the person for the asset, including the fair market value. Consideration received, amount received or received by the person for the asset, including the fair market value of and any consideration in kind determined at the time of realization. Right? So it says consideration received means amount received or received by the person. Amount received or received by the person for the assets, including the fair market value of any consideration in kind determined at the time of the realization. That is called assessed value. If the assessed value is not indicative of the market value, assessed value is not indicative of the market value of such asset, the market value determined by the tax official. So first thing is that consideration received means really what we received or receivable or fair market value. Right? Just like you know that so in say if I am going to sell a land, there's the valuation for the land. That valuation is with the government. Land registry have the valuation. So that could be used as a fair market value. Or say that value is 5 million, but that I am purchasing at a 6 million. Now the 6 million is the fair market value. Right? So for the purpose of that in case of the land, if I am going to transfer, we need to make that stamp duty payment to the provincial tax authority. That's provincial tax authority. For the stamp duty purpose, they are also valuing the land. That could be the valuation. Assessed value. That could be the assessed value. Right? If the assessed value is not indicating of the market value, if the assessed value is not reflecting the market value, that's called indicative value. Market value. Then the market value determined by the tax officer. Tax officer can determine the market value. What is the market value? So if somebody want to avoid taxes, try to avoid taxes from this section, it is not possible. But as I mentioned, say if there is a market value, we have to use the market value. Right? If there is asset value, we have to use the asset value. If both are not indicative of the market value, already say established water valuation right? Aim that tax officer can determine the value. Right? After that value should be considered the consideration received. Consideration received. So therefore, underhand transaction is not possible in this context. Right? So what is the cost of the asset? It says expenditure incurred by the person in acquiring the asset. Expenditure incurred by the purchase cost. Acquiring the asset. Expenditure incurred by the person in improving the asset. Expenditure incurred by the person in improving the asset. Incidental expenditure incurred by the person in acquiring and realizing the asset. Incidental expenditure, that means any subsequent expenditure incurred in acquiring or disposal of the asset. Any income. So that shall be considered as part of cost. Right? So purchase cost fine. That's the purchase cost. So we have the acquisition cost or the development cost. Thereafter, expenditure incurred by the person in improving the asset. Any development, subsequent development cost. That's also part of cost. Incidental expenditure. That means expenditure incurred in the acquisition or at the time of disposal of the asset. That is also part of cost. Just like say, I am going to purchase the land. So that land value say 50 million. I have to pay notarial charges, stamp duty, say sometimes agent fee or the brokerage charges, that type of thing. That are called incidental expenditure in the acquisition of the asset. The similar to the financially that thing. They are making advertising cost, maybe broker charges, that type of thing. That is incidental. That can be considered part of cost. Other thing is income amount. What is mean by income amount? This part of cost. Income amount. What is mean by income? So here income amount means income what we are not receiving. Say example, I can say example. As example, say we are a real estate company. Real estate company. So we need to pay say bonus to director or the employee. You know that under the employment income, directors also considered as employee. So we need to pay for them as bonus, but we don't have cash. Therefore, we are giving 2 blocks of land as bonus. To compensate bonus, we are giving 2 blocks of land. Now, under the employment income, it shall be considered as income to the particular employee. Whatever benefit received in connection to the contract of the employment, it shall be considered as employment income. So, necessarily settled in cash. That's why we recognize non-cash benefit as well. So, as a employment income, I can give what is 2 blocks of land. So, in the employee side or the director side, it shall be considered as part of their employment remuneration. That amount they have recognized at the time of the acquisition of land as income. That is the cost of the land. Right? Cost of the acquisition, cost of the land. That's the meaning. So just like you know that under the non-cash, you may learn that company can issue shares to the employee. Share ownership. Employee share ownership scheme. Under that time, company can issue share. So that share cost at that time you come with that it says for the employment income we need to recognize that share issued by the company as employment income. At that time we are recognizing the market value of the shares and we consider that is the total benefit. Now the employee side, he has declared that income under the employment income, and he has asset on the other side. What is the amount recognized under the employment income equal to the cost of the asset what they acquire. So same example, if I go with that given block of land irrespective of what is rather paying bonus. So we are recognizing our income as bonus. What is the value? Value of the two block of land. So one side I am declaring income, other side I am having an asset. What is the cost of asset? Equal to the income what I am recognized under the my employment income. That is the amount we say income. If any income amount on the asset recognized under the income amount, that is the cost of the asset. Right? Clear? So in the under the employment income also we need to work out the market value, right? Fair market value. Right. What are tax exempted investment income? So I need to make a note here. If you have that note, or you can make a note there. So any asset under the cost of asset, any asset acquired prior to 30th September 2017. Any investment asset acquired prior to 30th September 2017. Any investment asset acquired. Any investment asset acquired. That common cost, right? Cost of asset. Any investment asset acquired prior to 30th September 2017. 30th September 2017. Under that, cost of such investment asset. 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 Cost of investment asset shall be equal to the. Shall be equal to the. Shall be equal to. Shall be equal to the market value of that. Shall be equal to the market value of the asset. Market value of the asset as of 30th September 2007. Shall be equal to the market value of the asset as of 30th September 2017. It says this is in the act. It says asset acquired prior to 30th September 2017. Right? 30th prior to 30th September 2017. So this day we need to consider market value. Market value. As of that day, market value is equal. This is the amount which we need to consider as cost of the asset. As of 30th September 2007. Say, we'll make an example. A has purchased a land. Example, A has purchased a land. A has purchased a land in 1980. In 1980, he has purchased land in 1980. 4 rupees 9 million. He has purchased the land in 1980. 4 rupees 9 million. He has disposed this land 4 rupees 30 million. 4 rupees 30 million in the year 2024-25. The year 2024-25. The year 2024-25. Right? So market value of the land as of 30th September 2017. Market value of the land as of 30th September 2017. 17 was rupees 20 million. Rupees 20 million. Compute the gain from the realization of the land. How to compute the gain and loss? Then how gain or loss compute currently? Disposal proceed minus cost of the land. Either 10 million. So cost of the disposal proceed is how much? That is 30 million. But really, we acquired that land at 9 million. But for the tax purpose, we can get the market because land has purchased prior to 30th September 2017. Therefore, market value as of 30th September 2017 can be considered as cost of acquisition cost of the property. Right? Therefore, the gain from the realization of this asset is 10 million. Otherwise, it is very unfair. Yeah. Why I told you? So because this tax was introduced by 1/4/2018 onwards. 1/4/2018 onwards. But the really low is 30th September 2017 when we practical again. So after how many months? 30th September 2017 is 1/4/2018. How many months? 6 months, right? 6 months prior to the implementation of tax. Right? මොකද ලංකාවේ කලින් කැපිටල් ගේන් ටැක්ස් තිබුණේ නැහැ. ඒකන් තමයි ඒගොල්ලෝ කියන්නේ. කැපිටල් ගේන් නැත්නම් අපි හිතමු දැන් ලෑන්ඩ් එක ගත්තේ ලෑන්ඩ් එක අපිට හම්බුනේ අවුරුදු 50කට කලින්. ඒ කාලේ පර්සන්ට් එක රුපියල් 500ක් වෙනවා. දැන් මිලියන ගණනක් වෙනවා. So capital appreciation එක කරම ටැක්ස් ගෙවන්න ඕනේ. Then you get the middle gain on that particular gain, yes, with 3% tax. Right? The tax law was changed in 2018 April 1. That's April 2018. Then it was introduced in July. Right? But let's say 30th September 2017 market valuation. For the 30th September, act implement when 1/4/2018 or not. ඒක කලින් වැලියු එකක් ගන්න. ඔයාලට ඇයි? ඇත්තටම කියනවා නම් මේක වැරද්දක්. ඇක්ට් එකේ වෙච්ච වැරද්දක්. real case so ඒ වෙලාවේ තමයි ජාත්‍යන්තර මුදල් IMF came to Sri Lanka to introduce this law. They want to implement this law effective from 1st October 2017. ඉතින් තමයි මේ law එක ලංකාවේ ඉම්ප්ලිමන්ට් කරන්න හැදුවේ. ඔයගොල්ලෝ බලන්නේ history එක ඇති. 2017 October 1 effective වෙනවා අලුත් law එක ලංකාවට introduce කරනවා. Because we have applied for a loan. So before we get that loan, they want to change the tax structure. Therefore, they told Sri Lanka want to implement the tax law immediately. Right? So it went to the discussion, but there was a case against that law, fundamental right against that England law, some protection. Therefore, when the Supreme Court gave a decision, there should be some sort of amendment need to be done to the law. Therefore, it takes another 6 months. Back. Income tax law එකක් අපිට දාන්න ගියාම කෑලි වලට කටන්න බෑ. එක කෑල්ලක් පාරනවා එක තව කෑල්ලක් පාරනවා. ඒකට ඇවිල්ලා මාස 6කට කඩලා හදන්න. That's also possible, right? 6 months old law, 6 months. ඊට පස්සේ මේක ගිහිලා දෙසැම්බර් ජනවාරි විතර තමයි ආවේ මේ decision එක court decision. ආවට පස්සේ තර මාස 3ක් වගේ තිබුණේ දාන එක ඒගොල්ලෝ අප්‍රේල් වලම දාන දුන්නා මේ date එක ඇක්ට් එකේ change කරන්න බැහැ. 30th September ඉඳන් ඔක්තෝබර් 1 වෙනිදා ඉම්ප්ලිමන්ට් කරනවා ලෝකේ right 30th September වෙනිදා මාකට් කරලා ඔක්තෝබර් 1 වෙනිදා අලුත් ලෝකේ මේක වෙනස් කරන්න බෑ 30th September කරලා ඒක රාමයෙන් එකේදී ඒක නැත්නම් බලලා දෙන්නේ සාමාන්‍ය ලෝ එකක් ඉම්ප්ලිමන්ට් කරාට පස්සේ තමයි ඒක ඇප්ලයි වෙන්නේ හැම එකම ඊට පස්සේ ඩේට් එකක් සාමාන්‍යයෙන් this particular law is that yes so that's the title of this is Ghana Act. The country where that IMF introduced this law to Ghana. And Ghana is a country that we did some sort of modification. Some are not clearly in Sri Lanka, but they did behind the law. So these things actually they could make change. So it is still there. Right. Anyway. So any asset which is acquired prior to 30th September 2017, we can get the market value as of this day as the cost of the asset. So on that day it is the cost. Subsequent disposal minus that cost we can it's subject to that. Right? So remember this type of expenditure we can deduct. Right? Incidental expenditures like say brokerage charges, advertisement charges. Or at the acquisition, if we are making it work. So improve the subsequent development to the asset, that type of things we can do. Right. So then valuation we can done at that day, and we can get a value the professional valuer service to get the valuation. That value we can use. So tax exempted investment income. These are tax exempted investment income. gain made on the realization of shares quoted in the any official is published by any stock exchange licensed by the Securities and Exchange Commission Act. Now, shares also considered as capital assets. And if we are keeping the shares as an investment, it is also part of investment asset. The realization of investment asset is subject to tax. That will be part of tax. Of the part of taxable income from investment is liable. But if that asset which is represented in the investment in share market, right? Then again it is tax exempt. Tax exempt. So what is this? Colombo Stock Exchange in a quoted company का shares dispose करने के gain देगा tax exempt income. Right? So why you know why that exemption has been granted for that particular item? Stock exchange के gain का tax exempt कर देना है. No. Dividend में हो क्या? क्या ने share अभी share stock market के share करके recording में gain है. So one thing is share market was not performing in well. Therefore, we need to develop the share market. Second thing is share market transactions are subject to share transaction. Buyer and seller has to pay 0.0 or 0.3% tax or the levy as the buyer as well as seller on the cost of or the acquisition cost or the disposal cost. They come equal enough. Yeah, dispose करने action. On that, both seller and buyer is paying the share transaction levy. So therefore, that income also coming to the government. The huge income, the turnover. Share turnover करता हूँ वाली चीज़ है. ताकि क्या मतलब share market is not functioning properly. Therefore, to improve that one, share market gain from the investment in share market, disposal of the shares in the share market is taxed. So interest received by any charitable institution, interest is part of taxable income, but it is that to charitable institution where it is provided to the satisfaction commission that such interest is applied solely for the purpose of providing care to children, the elderly or the disabled in their home maintained by such charitable institution. In such case, that interest also tax exempt. So just like say children orphanage or the elderly home, they are keeping a deposit in the bank and they are getting interest income. If they are satisfying the commission that particular interest is used solely for the purpose of that maintenance of the home, that interest is tax exempt. Other part is any person outside Sri Lanka or any loan granted to any person in Sri Lanka or to the government of Sri Lanka by such person. That means interest is exempt to any person who is outside Sri Lanka and granting loan to Sri Lanka. So it could be any loan granted to any person in Sri Lanka or government of Sri Lanka. So that interest is also tax exempt. Again, if any person outside Sri Lanka granting a loan to any person in Sri Lanka or to government of Sri Lanka and interest income on that such loan is tax exempt to that particular person. Right? Exemption in Azumana, IMF tax. They have granted that loan. They are paying interest as per the minimum law. They are paying interest, right? Capital interest. So they have to pay tax in Sri Lanka. World Bank right? ADB or Hamilton Lanka. No, I can decide that exemption has been granted. Right. Other one is any person on money laying to his credit in foreign currency in any foreign currency account opened by him or his behalf in a commercial bank or in any specialized bank with the approval of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. That if I put it in very simple, it says if you are maintaining that particular account, bank account in foreign currency, and interest income of such foreign currency is tax exempt. Say just like the RFC, NRFC, right? You know that, right? RFC and NRFC account. So on that account, somebody is getting that interest income, that is tax exempt. Say we are an export company, so export profit are received to Sri Lanka in foreign currency. So we are keeping in accounts and we are getting interest income in that account. That is exempt for tax, right? So that is to encourage bringing foreign currency to Sri Lanka. මේ හැම එකක්ම economy policy එකක් එක්ක link tax law, right? Any welfare society that interest is received by the welfare society, that is also tax exempt. So other thing is any winning from lottery, the gross amount of which does not exceed rupees 500,000. Winning from lottery winning, which is the total winning is less than 500,000. So that is also tax exempt. ඒක නිසා තමයි අපිට ඔය රුපියල් 40ක් 50ක් යදුනට tax එකක් වෙන්නේ නැතුව සම්පූර්ණ ගාණ දෙන්නේ. නේ tax කරන්නේ නැත්නම් minimum lottery එක අපි ගන්නද investment income. නෑ Sri Lanka is liable tax liable. ඒකවල tax අරමුණ කරන්නේ අපිට කෙලින්ම 40 දෙනවා නේ. හැබැයි ලක්ෂ 5කට වැඩා ගන්නේ මොකද? that deducting tax. Up to 500,000 it is tax exempt. Winning from lottery, right? Next one is dividend paid to a member. To the extent that such dividend payment is attributable to or derived from another dividend received by that resident company or another resident company. That is special for dividend. Say dividend paid by a member. Sorry, dividend paid to a member. To the extent that such dividend payment is attributable to or derived from another dividend received by that resident company or another resident company. What does it mean? What is the meaning of that? So shall we put it in a very simple way? Dividend paid to the member. Company is declaring dividend to the member. To the extent that such dividend, so company A declaring dividend to the shareholder, right? If such dividend is paid, that is says that was paid, attributable means paid to or derived from another dividend received by that company. That company. So in that context, that dividend is taxed. එහෙම වෙන්න පුළුවන්. The company එක dividend income එකක් ගන්න පුළුවන්. ඉතින් සරලවම කියන්නේ මොකද? Dividend paid out of dividend income is tax exempt to the recipient. එන්න පුළුවන්ද? company එක dividend හම්බ වෙන්න පුළුවන්ද? තව මේ company එකකින් can a company get a dividend from another company? Yes. In what is the situation? Yeah, that company invested in another company. So just like what is mean with the just like it's a say group company, parent subsidiary company declaring dividend to the parent company. So parent company can declare that dividend to their shareholder, parent company shareholder. So that shareholders are tax exempt, right? Recipient is not tax exempt anything. Given a company, recipient tax exempt because why? Liability is with the person who is getting income. Just like this. The parent company, they are having the ownership of subsidiary companies. They are paying dividend. If that dividend, this company is declaring dividend to shareholders, Dividend attributable dividend issued by that resident company from another resident company or company. So shareholders are taxed. Dividend paid out of dividend is tax exempt. Right. That's right. Shall we have a break?
Thank you.
తప్పకుండా చెప్పచ్చు అసలు. ஆசிலோட படிக்க வந்துடலாம். அப்படி ஃபைனல் பேப்பர் என்ன சொன்னோம்? நெக்ஸ்ட் டைம் நம்ப உங்களை கேட்டா வெயிட் பண்ணிட்டு போன வெயிட்டிங் ஏரியா ஊபர் போட்டுருவேன். Birthday gift அனுப்புறேன். இது ஓகே போட்டோ அனுப்பிடுங்களா? ரொம்ப அவன் அயன் பண்றான். அயன் பண்ணும்போது ரொம்ப நீட்டமா வந்துச்சு. வந்து நல்ல நீட்டமா இருக்கு. பேசிட்டு இருக்காங்க. ஆல்மோஸ்ட் சரி ரெண்டாவது பக்கம் ஒர்க் பண்றாங்க. அந்த பாய் வந்து ஏதோ ஒரு ஒர்க்கா யூகே போயிட்டாரு. இன்னும் ரிட்டர்ன் ஆகல ஸ்ரீலங்காக்கு. அதுக்கு முன்னாடியே அவங்க வீட்டுல கல்யாணம் பண்ண சொன்னாங்க. அவங்க பண்ணாம இருக்காங்க. ஆனா பாவம் அவங்க அப்பா அம்மாவுக்கு சரியான பிரச்சனை. 3 பேர் 3 பேரும் மாறி மாறி கட்டாம தானே இருக்காங்க. பாத்திக்கு சொல்லல, மத்த 2 பேரும் பண்ண முடியாது. 2 பேரும் வச்சுட்டு உங்களுக்கு பேச சைனரும் சிஸ்டர்ஸ்க்கு பேச பார்ப்போம் அப்படின்னு. இப்போ ஒர்க் பண்ணா ஓகே. அதான் இப்போ இந்த ஒர்க் ஓகே. ஓகே எப்படி பார்த்தோம்? அங்கே வந்துட்டு விளைக்கணும். ஆடிட்டை நம்ம நல்லபடியா முடிச்சோம்னா எனக்கு பார்ட்டி எல்லாம் விட்டான். மேனேஜர்ஸ் எல்லாமே சரியான ஃபிட். baby size. அவங்களும் ஒரு வீட்டு கிடக்குது. வீட்டுல படிச்சு இன்னும் சொல்லி கொடுத்துக்கிட்டே இருக்க வேண்டியதா இருக்கு. ஒரு விஷயம் கூட ஒரு மெயில் போடணும்னா கூட இப்படி போடவா ஆனா அதுக்கு கரெக்ஷன் தான் போட்டு அவனே யோசிச்சு போட்ட மெயிலும் பத்தி என்ன அர்த்தம் எப்படி கேட்பேன். இன்னொரு நாளுக்கு வர முடியாது. தலை போட தெரிஞ்சவங்களும் ஒண்ணுமே இல்லாம அவ்வளவு இன்ட்ரெஸ்டடா நான் ஆடிட் பண்ணேன். எனக்கு நீ சொன்ன கதை ஒரு சும்மா ஒரு
Right. So that is tax exempted investment income we discussed, right? So the investment income has a direct link with the withholding tax. So most of investment income it is subject to withholding tax. We'll discuss the withholding tax as well. So actually in Sri Lanka context, withholding tax is a mechanism of payment of tax. So when we discussed at the first day, you told that someone taxes. When you rename that tax, you told withholding tax, dividend tax, that type of thing, right? So I told you it is not tax. You can understand what is that, right? So in Sri Lanka, there are three ways of payment of tax, right? And the payment mode, how we can pay tax. There are three modes. So by withholding, first thing is by withholding. Second thing is by installment payment. Third one is by assessment based tax. Right? This is three modes of payment of tax. Right? So withholding. Withholding can be happen in a way where there is a payment. The payer can hold the tax. Payer can hold the tax. Tax can be held by the person who make the payment. At the time of payment, he can hold the tax. Otherwise, there is no way to hold anything. Say, you know that in the banking or the electronic transfers, or if you are making a transaction in bank, so you can see that when you visit that, but the check that your bank statement is there, some payments are holding. Until the payment or the authorization happens, the payment is holding by the bank. We instruct the bank to make the payment, but they are holding. Likewise, tax also holding by the person who is making the payment. Right? Who is making the payment, who holds the tax. The tax liability is with the person who receives that income. And the person, not the person who makes the payment. If I am making a payment to, say, person A, I can hold the tax which the A is liable, not liable by me. I don't have any liability of the tax on that particular because it is my side, it's a payment. So you know that in case of the salary, is when the employer makes the payment remuneration to the employee, he is deducting tax. He holds the tax person. Right? And that tax is paid to the directly tax authority, Commissioner General's account. The whose tax liability? Employee's tax liability. Not the employer's tax liability. So it's called as withholding. That's why it's called withholding. By who? Person who make the payment, he first thing is withhold the tax and thereafter he paid to the government. So that's the withhold tax mechanism. Right? So then the payer of all the tax, where the tax is liability is the person who receives that income. That's why it's called withholding tax. What is that tax they are holding? Type of tax liability is the person who receiving. Say A is making a payment to B. A is making a payment to B. At the time of payment, A can hold the tax. Hold tax. Hold tax with him. It's holding tax. Right? So that payment so who's the person who receiving that thing, it is his her income. Right? It is expenditure. Payer side it is expenditure, receiver side it is income. So on his income, on her income, this person is holding the tax. That is as per the tax law. Tax law says, okay, you hold the tax at the rate of this thing. You don't know at the rate. They are holding. So what is the tax he holding? On her income or what she liable? She liable. She is liable to pay tax on her income. What is the income? What is the tax? That is income tax. Income tax liability. In her side, she has to pay tax on her income. That is income tax. So that income tax is holding by the person who make the payment. It goes as withholding tax. Right? That's why it's called withholding tax. Withholding tax. Ultimately, he holds tax and he made the tax authority. Whose tax liability? Her tax liability. Therefore, it is the mechanism of payment of tax. Rather, she is making the payment, another person is deducting and making the payment. Right? So that goes as withholding tax. So in Sri Lanka, there are three types of withholding tax applicable. Right? So first thing is APIT goes as advanced personal income tax. So previously it is known as pay as you earn. So now it is renamed as advanced personal income tax, APIT. So APIT is on remuneration. We call employee related pay. On employment income, tax is goes as advanced personal income. Right? Other thing is AIT, advanced income tax. This is known as advanced income tax. So that is on investment return. What we discuss investment income on that income as well as service related payments. So still that the access that withholding tax on the payment to the non-resident person. But even though it is renamed as APIT or AIT, the mechanism is what is withholding tax. In 2019, withholding tax they have abolished. Therefore, once they abolish, it is not possible to implement that tax. The mechanism is withholding tax. It's renamed as advanced personal income tax, advanced income tax, and it still access some instance it is withholding tax. But the mechanism is withholding tax. Right? So there are three types of categories withholding tax. It is coming on employment income, on investment return, on service payment. Right? So So advanced personal income tax, I believe this has been, you have discussed in the previous lectures, in the previous part of this course, but again I am recapping here the same thing. So deduction of advance payment by employee is mandatory from employment income of employees in the effective from 1st January 2023. It is mandatory. If the certain amount is exceeding, employer has to deduct that. This is obligation. Right? The obligation of an employer to deduct MPIT shall not be reduced. The employer cannot deviate from his obligation. It is his obligation. He has to pay, deduct and pay. Otherwise, he is liable. So it cannot be compensated with any other liability coming under any other law. Say, example, say I have to pay. So my employer has to deduct tax on my salary. But if he deduct tax, so he cannot repay my loan. Say I have obtained a loan from bank and I gave an instruction to my company to deduct my installment payment from my salary and remit to the bank. But because of the tax, that installment cannot be made. Right? It says first thing, employer has to deduct tax. Thereafter, any other thing that can be done. So therefore, the employer's obligation cannot be reduced. Right? So Commissioner General has published APIT table based on the individual tax rate and that is related to the procedure. They have given a guideline. Right? Taxation of terminal benefit, that is on the retirement benefit, employment income has two parts, regular profit, monthly regular profit and termination terminal benefit. So that is also applicable. Right? So you learn that employment income, right? Previously. Yeah. Employment income ඉගෙන ගන්නද කලින්? නේ? ඉගෙන ගත්තා නැද්ද කියන්නේ? You learn or not? කවුද කලින් tax කරේ? Tax දෙවන්නද? No? So exemption means you may have learned some, yeah, that's the exemption is right? CA, business level. Business level එක දෙනවද මම කලින් business level teach කරලා. Employment company එකද තියෙනවා right? BL2 වල තියෙනවා. Then you know that employment company. Then there's a question on whether to give that exemption or not. Right. So employment income, if I am recapping, employment income. මගේ මේක නෑ හොඳයි. Employment income. Employment income means rendering services by a person, so that's the contract of service supply. Equal employment contract, right? Or the agreement, or the relationship. On that employee-employee relationship, on that contract, as per the agreement, the benefits are paid. Benefits. So that's why I call, you can remember it is profit or income from employment. Profit or income, it says benefits. It could be cash benefit or otherwise. Whatever benefit received as a contract of the agreement, it goes as employment remuneration, equal remuneration, right? Employment benefit. So employment income as per the tax law can be recognized on cash basis. Benefit should be recognized on market value, fair market value. Market value of the benefit need to be recognized, right? So employment income could be on regular profit, we call regular profit. For terminal benefit. Terminal benefit, right? So terminal benefit. That's what it says, terminal benefit, taxation of terminal benefit. That's the taxation of terminal benefit. Right? So make it testable area ගන්න මේ හොඳයි මම exam එකේදී test කරන්නේ නැහැ, but I will recap your knowledge for the only for purpose of your knowledge. You can write down same thing. So here මම මේක කරා මේ කියන්නේ කලින් මම ready වෙලා ආවේ නැහැ අද මේක උගන්වනවා කියලා, but I will do that. So regular profit should be it says to employee or associate. So you can යාගේ associate කෙනෙකුට associate means parents, spouse, children, that type of person. As a contract of employment, if something is received by employees or associate person, that is also part of employment income. Example, say when you are joining with a company, the company is taking, okay, as per the contract, okay, we are giving your parents medical benefit as well. Let's say if you are taking that the medical treatment for your parent, that bill is reimbursed by the employer. That is in there the contract. So therefore, it should be part of your employment income. Part of your employment income. So that it could be on cash benefit or non-cash benefit. Cash benefit, what type of things you are getting? Salary, wages, allowance, that type of thing. OT, bonus, whatever thing. All are cash benefit. Whatever you are getting in cash terms as a benefit from the employment, which is stated in the agreement, this is cash benefit. Non-cash benefit could be say share. Yeah, accommodation, traveling, for the share sales if the company is giving charge to his employee as a contract and the payment, so it shall be treated as benefit. So what is the benefit that need to be recognized? It is market price. It could be that particular company share or any other company share. And it's part of you know that some companies, after 5 years they are there for some portion of share. Either this company or the parent company or whatever company. That is also part of benefit. So I will highlight again, that I repeatedly mention that it is benefit. Always benefit. So says the profit is recognized as profit. So profit means, so what is my private benefit from that thing? That is the employment benefit. The market price of the shares is 120. Because of employment contract, you are getting at say 60. The benefit is then you have to pay 60 rupees and you can purchase 120 worth of share. 20 rupees worth of share. Benefit is 60. You can purchase shares that the market price right now is 120. As the employment contract says, you can purchase at 60. Then profit is 60. 60 is the employment benefit. Directors, we need to pay bonus, but we don't have money, so we get 2 blocks of land. Market value is the benefit that is coming under the bonus. Right? So, share accommodation, it says is based on the situation of the property, whether it is rated in the rated place, rated area, unrated, and state bungalow. In case of the rated area, the property is there. What is the benefit? 12.5% of your monthly earn. Unrated area, 10%. If it is a state bungalow, 7.5%. Right, on your monthly earning. That is the benefit. That means accommodation facility provided by your employer. In such case, we recognize. Right, that's the benefit. So in the traveling context, traveling benefit, there are 2 ways. One thing is, if the employer maintains proper record, so what is the private usage? What's the official usage? Only providing of the traveling benefit. So it is not the case. The employee is not maintaining records. There are 3 categories. They are recognizing vehicle, fuel, and private. If it is vehicle, 20,000, fuel another 20,000, with driver 10,000. Altogether 50,000 could be recognized. So that is the traveling benefit. Right? If the employer maintaining proper record, 1 kilometer is equal to 25 rupees. What is the private usage? That needs to be recognized as employment benefit. Any other benefit, just like say paying insurance, paying utility bills, or whatever reimbursement expenditure, private expenditure reimbursement, that type of things, the 100% of the total value should be recognized. But in case of the telephone bill, prepayment telephone bill, we are recognizing only 50% of the bill pay amount as employment benefit. In case of the staff loan, if the loan is in a scheme where this uniform all the staff, then we are not recognizing benefit. Otherwise, we need to consider the market rate and recognize the benefit. That means that if I am an employee of ABC company, I apply for a loan from the company. Company gave me say 5 million loan at an interest rate of 2%. If I go to the bank, interest rate could be say 10%. But I am paying 2%. The 8% is my benefit, not the loan. Loan I have to repay. That's all it is. Employment benefit need to be recognized. That means private benefit need to be recognized. It could be cash benefit or non-cash benefit. The non-cash benefit, Commission has issued a circular. So how to determine the market value? Based on that, we need to recognize the benefit. So that is employment income. That is not regular monthly profit code. Right? So terminal benefit, or we call terminal benefit or retirement benefit, both. retirement benefit. Right? Terminal means termination can be happened by the employer side or the employee side. So if you are having another opportunity, you can go, right? You can terminate that employment. As the termination, if you are getting anything, that is coming as terminal benefit. The retirement is happening execution of the law. After 60 or 65, you have to retire. So that is called as retirement benefit. So, but this part and parcel of employment income. You are getting that benefit from as the retirement termination of the retirement, that is your part of your income. So it's a new thing. Say pension. Pension coming at the retirement. Gratuity. This is commuter pension. Gratuity. EPF. ETF. Compensation for loss of office. Compensation. So these are the things recognized by the Act or the 11 laws. Terminal benefit or retirement benefit. You can say commuter pension means at the termination of the retirement you are getting bulk amount. Monthly pension is coming under here. So bulk amount you are getting. So that is at the retirement. Gratuity as per the gratuity law. We have gratuity law in Sri Lanka. As per the law it says if employee is completing 5 years or more, so half month salary into number of years completed is you are getting as gratuity. That's the gratuity law definition. And that is also terminal benefit. EPS, you know that employees contributing monthly. How much for you? As per the law, EPF law. Gratuity, the EPF Act says employees contribution is 2%. Employees contribution is 8%. So here it talks about the at the termination of retirement, you are getting the total amount. That's the retirement benefit. So actually, what is your benefit is 8% not 12% not 20%. 12%. 8% is your part, your contribution. Because for the employment income, we recognize total salary on gross basis. Therefore, 12% is the benefit. Plus any investment income. EPF again given out and interest to take the given. That amount. Right? And ETF 3% plus investment income. What you are getting. So compensation means if the employer is terminating your employment, employer is terminating. Say they are shut down or the curtail the card or retrenchment we call or close down a business. So as per the termination of Employment Act, termination of Workment of Employment Act. So that says the employer has to pay compensation. They agree to pay compensation. So that is compensation. So that is also coming under here. So these are recognized as separately. Reason is that so pension it is from the government. This taxation. Or if it is received, if I put it in a very correct way, the commuter pension from consolidated fund, it is taxation. Gratuity, other than what is this death and injuries, gratuity paid in case of the death person or the injured person, it is exempt. Otherwise, it is liable. EPF, if the fund is approved by the Commissioner General, total amount is tax exempt. ETF, investment income is tax exempt, 3% is liable. Compensation for loss of office, if the scheme is uniform scheme, then it is coming under this one as a terminal benefit. Otherwise, it is coming under here. Not coming under the terminal benefit. Right? So, reason is that this terminal benefit you can see that if it is from government considered fund, it is exempt. Death and injury, that is also exempt. Say, terminate employment. The employee, whatever we can make, Kishavara Marana, Apino Ram, then I'm getting the activity. In that, employment is terminated, right? So, it says there's no injury. Injury that is tax exempt. So, EPF, if the fund is approved, that is also tax exempt. ETF, only 3% is liable, investment return is not liable. It says after 1/4/1987. The compensation for loss of office we consider here if it is uniform scheme. Uniform scheme. Uniform scheme means so all the card, the similar grade, should be in the same. With the factory staff again, machine operators together 5 times of salary. Senior staff we are paying say 6 times. Likewise, that all the card they are getting equal terms. In such case, it goes as uniform scheme. It is coming under here. Otherwise, it is coming under here. Regular. Reason is that after giving all the exemption, if there is liable income, taxable benefit, it says first 10 million tax at 0%. 10 million tax at 0%. Next, the second or the second 10 million tax at 6%. The balance, where the balance? At 12%. So that is also concession. So if I put it in a way, terminal benefit, most of terminal benefits has exemption. The taxable benefit first 10 million tax at 0. That means it is also not liable for tax, just like it is not exempt, it is liable, but up to 10 million tax is at 0%. Right? Next 10 million, 6%. If there is further balance, that is tax at 12%. So you can see the concession tax rate. This is the only concession tax rate available for individual in terms of the employment. Employment income tax concession no. That is exemption. Right? Any exemption or concession are given. Concession. That's why I got the national. Probably you can have all the level of tax like you know, I think money is again that. So we gradually pay the tax to මේ පාඩමක් කරලා දුන්නා ඕනේ. දැනගන්න වගේ ගන්න ඕනේ. Right, is there reason is that there's a why that the policy behind this thing what the concessions are granted. You know that say, in case of the say, retirement, person is after 60 years, Sri Lanka, thereafter he cannot work anymore, right? At Canada, the come back. At the retirement, he is getting some amount. They cannot see that because other income, other than this terminal benefit, regular property is taxed at what the rate? This your tax rate is මොනවද යන්නේ දැන්? ලංකාවේ. දැන් නෙමෙයි මම 34 25ට කියන්න. The taxable benefit. මම කියන්න. Taxable benefit common tax වෙන්නේ. Plus 500,000 6%. ඒව 500,000 යනවා 30% වෙනකම්. ඊළඟ එක ඊළඟ 500,000 tax at 12%, next 500,000 tax at 18%, next 500,000 tax at 24%, next 500,000 tax at 30%. If there is balancing, it is tax at 36%. 36%. 500 each goes till 30. Balancing is tax at 36%. So make a tax at a huge tax. 2.5 million only above employment income, average income is 2.5 million above annual. Balancing is tax at 36%. If you are receiving salary 300,000 plus 308,833, tax rate, your effective tax rate is more than 24%. So 1/5 you are paying as tax. So 36%, 1/3 you are paying as tax. You are told to learn, right? So, but that concession has been given to that terminal the retirement benefit. That I mean to say at the retirement you are getting some income, but you have to pay some tax. Otherwise, it is not fair. But it says that concession tax rate 10 million and they are not taxing. Next 10 million tax at 6%. Our million this is called tax at 12. That's the maximum tax rate in that country. And as they company compensation tax plus. They are giving that concession rate. Around 10 million tax. Right? That's why we are paying gratuity. Gratuity is liable up to 5 million. No tax. Gratuity up to 5 million. No tax. Right? That's how it is structured. So these things are captured because you know that the employer, when the employer making payment, he is supposed to deduct tax as per the withholding tax mechanism. They say it is mandatory. So this part also he has to hold the tax. This part also is holding the tax. That's coming under the APIT table. APIT table says how to deduct tax. Is that clear? Employment income. Employment income in process and following paper. So employer has to deduct tax. So Comptroller General in that context published table. Based on that table, he has to deduct tax. Right? A terminal benefit. This has not been changed. That was there previously also. It is not changed. Right? But if it is regular income, it will be 36%. Right? So there are 7 tables. Over the table 8 table introduce karame yavutinna. At 7 tables, the 24, 25, 7 tables. Table number 1 is we call a monthly profit. Monthly gross income is more than 100,000. The employee is supposed to deduct tax. So less than 100,000, no tax. Right? So 100,000 is what is that? Why is 100,000 about on tax and 100,000 tax? So in Sri Lanka, we have tax-free allowance. Personal tax relief 1.2 million per annum. So master last year. Last year, I don't tax. That's the right? Right. So the table 2 is for the lump sum payment. Lump sum payment means just like the bonus. Partly, if somebody is getting something, so lump sum payment. So we have to apply the table 2. Table 3 is the once and for all payments. This type of thing. Once and for all payment. If employee again, that's why it's called once and for all payment. Mangai in over Madagim. Manda never Madagim. Ikapara. Right? The table 4 is where the payment is by non-resident employees. Non-resident employees are given on a pay table 4 tax deduction on employee. Non-resident and non-citizen. Table 5. The monthly income is less than 100,000, but annual income is more than 1.2 million. In such case, what the table that need to be applied? They have the master lecture or arguing out the below 1.2 million to value. Bonus salary increment in between say අපේ 90000 ආදායය අන්තිම මාසෙ එනකොට ලක්ෂයකට වඩා වැඩි වෙනවා. So it could be. So in such case 1.2 million different පස්සේ තමයි that table එක apply. But what time is liable for taxation? Table 6 if the tax also paid by the employer as a benefit. So I'm telling you, okay, don't deduct tax from my income. You bear. I'm telling to the employer. So the employer has to bear the tax cost. So we call tax on tax table. That is table 6. Right? Table 7 is secondary employment. If an employee can it be happen? Yeah. In such case, things are applicable. Table 7 needs to be applied and tax should be given. If the employee correctly applies the table, API table and deduct tax, then it is total tax liability is exactly calculated as the employee deduct some liability. Right? Any question? So then employee side again tax question employee side because we are testing corporate tax liability. So then what is the employer's responsibility? So under the FAID mechanism, employee also has responsibility. He has to apply the correct tax table and deduct the tax. This is mandatory. And what he is deducting on a monthly basis, that need to be removed to the next Commissioner General's account or no before 15th day of the subsequent month. Say now we are in June. Once he deducted June tax, that need to be removed to the Commissioner account or no before 15th July. So annual return, he has to submit annual return statement of employer. That employer's annual declaration or no before 30th April. And one person who deduct subject to tax and the employer deducted tax. So that employee to that employee he has to give certificate, tax deductor certificate, we call T10 certificate. T10 so reason is that in the annual declaration, employee is declaring all the details particular to staff cost. Individual wise they know. A received this much of money in terms of the cash benefit, in terms of the non-cash benefit, in terms of the terminal benefit. He is declared. For the employee side, he has to work out his tax liability. Consider the employment income. As we discussed, only four sources of income: employment, business, investment, or other source. So So as we work out the tax, we can get the tax credit what the employee deducted using the T10 certificate. Right? T10 certificate now, actually, till last year, it was the practice that we have to obtain the T10 certificate and submit to the tax authority, confirming our claim. එතකොට අපේ return අපේ income tax return එක අපි යවුවාම ඒකේ දෙන details ටිකත් එක්ක employer ගේ declaration එක අනිත් පැත්තෙන් එනවා. ඒ දෙක match කරලා බලන්න පුළුවන් commission එක. tax office එකේ කෙනෙක් බලන්න. Then you can once you now log into the system itself says where you work, how much you receive. What's the tax they have in it. According now is available in the system because it is automated. අපි ටික ටික එකට යනවා Srilanka. ඊළඟට අපි යනවා මේ ලබන අවුරුද්දේ ඩිජිටල් ඉන්වොයිසිං එක. ඔටෝමේට් වෙනවා. Right. So, the maintaining records and support to the Commissioner General's investigation and scrutiny, that is also part of his responsibility. So, that is under section 83A, A1, the employer's responsibility for deducting advance personal income tax. That is also coming under the withholding tax. Next one is advance income tax under section 84 it says this type of thing. That is also group 123 it says person shall withhold tax at the rate provided in paragraph 10 of the first schedule. First schedule says the tax rate. What type of payment? Where a person pays a dividend, interest, discount, charge, natural resource payment, rent, royalty premium. What we are discussing is the investment income. That income categories are there. Pays an amount winning from lottery, rewards, betting or gambling. That is also part of investment income. So that's why it's called advance income tax on investment return. Right? The payment of allocation and source in Sri Lanka. In that context, the person who makes this type of payment, he has to deduct tax at the rate specified in the question. Right? Other thing is, when there is an option which is conducted by the National Gem and Jewelry Authority, in respect of the gem sell at that auction, they have to deduct tax. So this is called source in Sri Lanka. We'll discuss separately. So what are the rates? I will go strictly go to the rate. It says this type of thing. Rates. Rating other there. Non-resident person with residual land, CEO, yard transport 2%. Interest or discount. Interest 5% is stored in that. Right? Rent 10%. If the monthly rent is more than 100,000, exceeding 100,000, the total amount WHG is 10%. Right? The payment is goes to the non-resident in terms of rent, charges, natural resource payment, royalty, whatever thing. Or including non-resident, winning from lottery exceeding 500,000, up to 500,000 tax exempt. If it exceeding 500,000, 14% WHT. Right? Dividend 15%. So selling of gem at the auction conducted by the National Gem and Jewelry Authority, on the selling price 2.5% withholding tax. Right? That goes as withholding tax. Now you can see most of element we discuss under the investment income subject to withholding tax. We discuss rent, premium, natural resource payment, royalty, dividend and the rent, interest, everything are there, right? So then මෙන්න මේ rate එක කරා ඉතින් එහෙම මම interest එක 2025 10% increase කරා. ඔයගොල්ලෝ මේ දාතන දාන්නවා. ඔය කතාව යනවා මේ දාස්. Declaration එකක් දෙන්න TDL ඉස්සරහ කෙනෙකුට එහෙම කතාවකට කියන්නේ ඒක. Right? These are the rates. So rates එක මම ලියන්න. So it says, what is mean by rent? It says paid for local transport services. So in case of the transport services, is not for the payment for the right to use of assets. Transport service, that is service provided by another person. Rent එක කියුවේ අපි discuss කරලා ඉගෙන ගත්තේ මොකද්ද definition එක? There should be right to use of that asset. Right? Say we are getting a vehicle from a company, vehicle hiring company, for a monthly fee. It could be cost as rent. Or we can get a vehicle from the person who providing transport service. So we don't have the right use of that asset. Especially in the government sector, you can see that it is mandatory to provide the BOI companies and all those things mandatory to provide that. What is this sub transport? So ඒකදී අපි කරන්නේ transport provide කරන කෙනෙක්ගේ service එකක් ගන්න. එයා උදේ කට්ටිය කෙනා දානවා අවුද ගිනින්දා. ඒ අතරතුර he can use this vehicle. Somewhere trip එක කරනවා ඒක ගිහිල්ලා යනවා. So then we don't have right use of that asset. Right use asset කොහොමද? වාහනේ අපි ගාව තියෙනවා. Right? So then it is not coming under rent. So how to determine the rent, whether it is coming under rent or not? Whether the ability to control the asset is with the tenant. So if it is the case here, ability to control asset. No, වාහනේ අපි ගත්තට අපේ premises එක දානවා. Fuel, maintenance, everything is done by us. So in such case, this is coming under rent. So if the aggregate monthly payment income tax of the rent is more than 100,000 on total amount, we need to deduct 10% tax. Right? අපි එතකොට ඕන asset එකකට rent එක right of use asset එකකට pay කරන එක rent එකක් කරන ඕන එකක්. It could be vehicle, it could be building, it could be machinery. Right? That's about any asset. Right? It could so if it is more than 100,000 per payment, so that need to be deducted at 10. But the finance lease, it is not coming under the rent. This has been given in the circular issued by the Commissioner General. It says, just like finance lease. One day you ask, right, whether finance lease is coming under rent or not. It's not coming under rent. There is. Right? Rental payment under the operating lease. Yes. ROUFL. It is coming under the rent. If the monthly rent is more than 100,000, subject to return tax at 10. In case of the co-owner, that means property is jointly owned. The one single owner or the joint owners. So each owner should be getting more than 100,000. If it is the case, the withhold tax is applicable. Otherwise, no. Say you have a land or the building, you have rented out that it is with your brother or the sister ownership. It's with both of you for the building. In such case, respective one portion should be more than 100,000. Say it is say 100,000 for the month rent. So that this tax is no more. Say 200,000 rent, still 100, not like exceeding 100,000. Say 500,000 rent, divided equally, 250, then this tax is applicable. Right? Separate certificate should be issued to forward. In case of the non-resident person, community 14%, irrespective of the rent pay. 100,000 in one day, key was 14%. Right? Clear? ये पार बात बतरे में लगभग 10% तो क्या नहीं रखें so it's just like this the question question so I mentioned that okay the company is paying these type of payments what is the applicability of installment tax एक है वो another obligation company की obligation में मुना the company is paying dividend of the owners and when higher charges then इसका हमारा वाला में रिपोर्ट लिया कदा so again not whether first thing is whether it is liable for tax if it is liable what is the rate and what is the obligation of the company right we'll look into what is this what is source in Sri Lanka it says payment to allocation as a source in Sri Lanka as a source in Sri Lanka what is mean by source that means that income should be generated from Sri Lanka how to determine whether that income is generated from Sri Lanka it says in respect of employment related account that employment should be exercised in Sri Lanka right? He should be doing his duty from Sri Lanka irrespective of the payment is coming in whether paid in Sri Lanka or not that is not material but the employment is in exercise in Sri Lanka it shall be considered as a source in Sri Lanka in case of the government if the payment is made by the government it shall be treated as a source in Sri Lanka dividend if the dividend is declared by the or paid by the resident company it shall be treated as that income is generated from Sri Lanka interest charges and annuities if the payment is made by the resident person including service fee payment made by the resident person it shall be treated as a source in Sri Lanka unless it is part of the payment which is connected to the business outside Sri Lanka right any from lottery betting or gambling if the chance of game of chance is happened in Sri Lanka it shall be treated as a source in Sri Lanka right I mean that is a lottery say we can buy through web right the beginning of ticket can pull say non-resident person of I mean the tender ticket from the National Development Lottery Board via internet but the winning from or the game of chance the lottery draw is happening in Sri Lanka it shall be treated as a source in Sri Lanka because in case of the non-resident person his income should be generated from Sri Lanka otherwise he cannot tax in natural resource payment if the resource is in Sri Lanka land or sea it shall be considered as a source in Sri Lanka rent if the property is situated in Sri Lanka it shall be treated as a source in Sri Lanka in case of the insurance premium if the risk is in Sri Lanka coverage insurance coverage we are taking for risk is in Sri Lanka it shall be treated as a source in Sri Lanka say we are obtaining a insurance coverage from an outside company insurance company for our inventories in Sri Lanka the risk is in Sri Lanka therefore it shall be considered as that non-resident company as a source in Sri Lanka income source in Sri Lanka so relevant transport business is that is shipping or airline they are coming to Sri Lanka embark goods or passenger in that context here it shall be considered as a source in Sri Lanka right transmission messages if the person is conducting business of transmitting messages but there is the equipment set up in Sri Lanka established in Sri Lanka so that it shall be treated as there is a source in Sri Lanka service pay payment, if the service is exercised in Sri Lanka, that type of thing, right? So we'll again discuss this under the next. After two discussion that non-resident tax liability, because it is directly connected with the non-resident tax liability. If the non-resident has source in Sri Lanka, they are liable. Otherwise, they are not liable for Sri Lanka tax. So I just want to explain what is source in Sri Lanka. Source in Sri Lanka means that income should be generated from Sri Lanka. If it is connected to the asset should be in Sri Lanka. If it connected to service related payment, service should be performed from Sri Lanka, including employee. Right? So then it can be considered as a source in Sri Lanka. Right. What is the responsibility of the So withhold tax not applicable in this context. Individual not doing business, make the payment, there is no requirement of deducting tax. So person pays interest on ordinary loan, it is not required to deduct withholding tax. So if you are, because I told you payer has to deduct tax. So when we obtain a loan from bank, we are making the payment. Interest plus capital. We cannot deduct withholding tax on such loan. Right? But the bank side also is the same, right? Api deposit area pay karna means what is that? They have obtained a loan from our side. Bank will halidana again, bank ko apin nahi karna. What is their business? Lending and borrowing. Apin ganna tagangade lend karna. So when they are paying interest to us, they are deducting tax. But when we are making the interest payment on ordinary loan, there is no requirement of deducting tax. Person pays interest on, in case of the interest on treasury bill and treasury bond, it is also not subject to withholding tax. Right? Interest on treasury bill, treasury bond are subject to withholding tax. If the person is exempt from income tax, again they are not liable for withholding tax. Right? That is, if a person exempt from that. Right. So, what is the responsibility of the? Sorry. What is the withholding tax application on service related payment? It says a person shall withhold tax at the rate of 5% of the payment, where such person pays the service fee with the source in Sri Lanka to a resident individual. Resident individual. Person make the payment to resident individual. Right? If the service fee is more than 100,000 per month, then he is supposed to deduct tax at 5%. Withholding tax is 5%. In service related payment, withholding tax is rate is 5%. If the monthly payment is more than 100,000. It says person make the service fee payment to resident individual. Remember, service fee payment to resident individual. So what type of service fee payment? It says teaching, lecturing, examining, invigilator or supervisory of examination. In that context, as a commissioner of mortgage or resident insurance, sale or conversing agent, for service provided by such individual in capacity of independent service providers such as doctor, engineer, accountant, lawyer, software developer, researcher, academic. In that context, if you are making any service related payment, only this type of person. If the service payment is more than 100,000, WH need to deduct at 5. Right? So remember, I am repeating again. This is applicable when the person can count. What's the definition for the person? Person? Individual? Entity? Then individual entities like. Huh? Individual entity. Then answer කරන්න බෑනේ මොකද දැන් වන්නලා තියෙන්නේ. I need the perfect answer. Individual entity, body corporate, unincorporated, executor, NGO, charitable institution. So when the person make the payment to service payment to resident individual, individual. Right? So if the service fee is more than 100,000, 5% installment need to be deducted. In this type of thing, teaching, lecturing, examination, that type of thing. Commission of brokerage of resident insurance. Sales of canvassing agent related payment. Commission payment. Service pay payment to doctor, engineer, accountant, lawyer, software developer, researcher, academic, that type of thing. If the monthly payment is more than 100,000, 5% installment need to be deducted. In case of the payment to non-resident person, irrespective of the amount, tax rate is 14%. 14% need to be done. So this is payment within Sri Lanka. Right? Therefore, the payer person to make the payment, he has to deduct. In case of the payment to non-resident person, අපිට cancelling pay කරන්න බෑ non-resident person කෙනෙකුට pay කරන්න කොහොමද pay කරන්න පුළුවන්? ලංකාවේ million එකකට pay කරන්න පුළුවන්. කොහොමද? ෆොටෝ එක දාලා අරින්න හලාවද පැත්තට කියලා දාලා. So we can make the payment to bank. We are making service related payment to outside Sri Lanka. Bank has been given that instruction without the Commissioner General's confirmation. Bank cannot process the payment. Therefore, it is mandatory to bank to get the clearance. We call tax clearance certificate from the Commissioner General. Therefore, the remitter, person making the remitter, has to obtain the tax clearance and given to the bank. Otherwise, bank is not process the payment. So that point it has been answered. Therefore, අපි ලංකාවේ පිටට මොනවා මේ payment එක කරනවා අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම tax ගෙවලා තමයි කරන්න. ලංකාවේ ඇතුලේ deduct කරන්නේ නැතොත් මොකද වෙන්නේ? By any chance, if the payer couldn't deduct tax, what is the repercussion? Tax deduct කරේ නැතොත් then the person make the payment means service related payment එක කරනවා කියන්නේ he is doing a business no business එක කරන්නේ නැත්නම් ඉන්නේ it should be part of business expenditure. Right? Say we are paying the software developer as a part of business expenditure. So if we pay to deduct that tax, that's the effect. The bank expenditure is done. Tax is currently equal tax. අනේක අපි ඉගෙන ගන්න. පෙරන්ටි දන්නකොලා පෙරන්ටි එන්නේ අපි අහුනොත් පේමන්ට් එක කරන්නේ. ස්පන්දාන අපි අල්ලගන්න බෑ පේමන්ට් එක කරන්නේ. හා? ඉස්සලා yeah very good. Section 10 subsection 2 අන්න එදා තමයි ඉතින් දාකින්නේ. The person unable to has not failed to deduct tax on the payment relevant withholding tax. That particular expenditure is fully disallowed. Section 10 subsection 2 බලන්න. Business income එක compute කරනකොට it says that if any payment is subject to withholding tax but person failed to do so or deduct but not remitted to the commissioner, that particular expenditure is fully disallowed. Example say if I paid that employment remuneration, if I paid deduct tax, the entire employment remuneration is not deductible tax expenditure for tax purpose. Is that bad? So expenditure එකක් ඉස්සලා වෙනවා කියන්නේ මොකක්ද meaning එක අනිත් පැත්තේ? My taxable property is going up from that particular amount. say මම මේ වෙන 10ක් salary ගෙවුවා tax එකක් කරේ නැහැ. That means indirectly 10 million into 30% tax from my side. Whereas I would have deduct 5% or whatever it. Right? And also that 5% tax එක අඩු කරා කියලා මගේ expenditure එක 95 වෙන්නේ නැහැ. Expenditure is still 100. Payment mechanism එකෙන් මෙන්න මොකද්ද අපි පෙර පහ ඩිඩක්ට් කරනවා කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? පහක් ගෙවනවා department එකට පහක් ගෙවනවා ආණු පහක් ගෙවනවා අයිතිකාරයට. මගේ පැත්තෙන් total expenditure එක තියෙනවා. Right. So we discuss the rate. Sorry. Rates we discuss. In this type of thing, tax rate is 5%. If the payment is goes to outside Sri Lanka, rate is 14%. Right, but if it is not part of payment to payment not part of business expenditure, no withhold tax is applicable. So what is the responsibility of this? Sorry, final withholding. These are final withholding. Right? What are final withholding? Winning from lottery, gambling and betting. It is tax rate is 14%, more than 500,000. But that is final withholding. අපිට ලොතරැයි එකේ දිනුමක් ආවදී අපි ඊට පස්සේ tax ගන්න ඕන 14 අඩු කරලා. Because final withholding amount we are removing when we work out the taxable income. It's not part of taxable income. So it is. And the dividend paid by the resident company. When the dividend declared by the resident company, they are deducting 15% tax. This final withholding. Payment made to non-resident person other than Sri Lanka permanent establishment. Roughly, if the payment is goes to non-resident person, we need to deduct withholding tax at 14%. It is fine. Hey. අපි payment එක කරාට පස්සේ ඒ මනුස්සයා ආයෙ මෙහෙ ඉලක්ක ගෙවන්නේ නැහැ. දැන් ගෙවනකොටම අඩු කර ගන්නවා. ඒක ෆයිනල් කරලා තියෙනවා. එහෙම නැතුව මොකද වෙන්නේ? එයා මේ ඇවිල්ලා tax හදන්න. Not practically happen, right? Therefore it says okay final withholding. You pay 14%, take that money. Maximum rate එක යන්නේ 14% යනවා. Because එයා සමහරට එකපාරක් වෙන්න පුළුවන් ඒ සර්විස් එක ලංකාවට දෙන්න. Right? But we say final withholding. So permanent establishment, if that particular non-resident person has a business location in Sri Lanka, it is not fine. So location එක ලංකාවේ දිනනවා යා බලන්න. That's correct. Right? The withholding of payment, that is not final withholding, the payment shall be entitled to tax credit. Final withholding අර අනිත් ඒවාට tax rate එකක් ගන්න පුළුවන්. So I mean let's say interest income I am receiving, bank is deducting 5% withholding that, interest income I need to work out, consider for my actual income, then taxable income I have to work out tax rate, say 36%. Once I work out the my tax is 36%. So that what the bank is deducted, that can be claimed as tax paid by my side. This tax credit to me. That's what I mentioned. Withholding tax is the mode of payment. I have already paid tax. My employment income, I have already paid. My employer has deducted that paid tax on behalf of me. That can be claimed as tax credit. Other than final withholding, we can claim tax credit. Final withholding or tax credit can be valid, by it's not part of taxable income. Taxable income and outcome and tax credit. Is that clear? Right. That is final withholding payment. What is the obligation of the person who deducting tax? Applying the correct rate and deducted. Deducted amount need to be remitted to the Commissioner General's account on November 15th of the next month. And submission of withholding tax return annual declaration on November 30th April. Right? Issuing withholding certificate. Certificate issue unknown to person who received their income and maintaining related documents. That is his responsibility. So shall we mark the second? From there, we will stop the discussion. We'll mark that.